Commander Park Hyun-woo's boots echoed against the polished metal floor of the Earth Defense Command Center as he walked slowly toward the central holographic projector. The massive underground facility hummed with activity, its walls lined with screens showing star maps, fleet positions, and communication channels from across human space. But right now, every eye in the command center was focused on the shimmering blue figure hovering above the main console. Ambassador Veldok's crystalline form caught the light from dozens of monitors, casting rainbow patterns across the walls. The alien's body looked like living glass, constantly shifting and reforming as it spoke. Its voice came through the universal translator with that same condescending tone that had made humanity's blue deboil for 50 years. The Galactic Council hereby summons the human species to appear before the Grand Assembly within 30 solar cycles, the creature repeated, each word dripping with disdain. You will answer for your reckless expansion into protected sectors, and your primitive military actions that have disrupted the peace of 3-star systems. Hyun-woo had heard this message twice already, but he wanted his entire senior staff to witness it. Round him, 40 of Earth's finest military minds stood, in perfect formation, their faces masks of controlled fury. These weren't fresh-faced recruits. These were veterans who had fought pirates in the asteroid belts, defended mining colonies from hostile creatures, and pushed humanity's borders deeper into space than anyone thought possible. Lieutenant Kim. So Young slammed her fist on her console, the sound echoing through the tense silence. At 28, she was the youngest communications officer in the Defense Command's history, and her talent for languages had helped humanity decode dozens of alien communication protocols. Right now, her dark eyes blazed with anger. Sir, they're treating us like children again, she said, her voice tight with frustration. Our colonies in the Kepler systems were established according to the star charts they provided us decades ago. Every settlement, every mining operation, every research station, all of it was built in sectors they told us were free for expansion. Captain Lee Minho stepped forward from his position near the tactical displays, the SCAD. Veteran had lost his left arm fighting crystal spiders on Proxima 7, and the cybernetic replacement whirred softly as he gestured toward the hologram. Commander, I've been tracking their fleet movements for months. They've been positioning battle groups near our outer colonies, testing our response times. This summons isn't about justice, it's about intimidation. Major Yoon Honul, the intelligence officer, nodded grimly. Our spies in Council space report increasing anti-human sentiment among the member species. The Vorthans call us the infestation. The Krathri refer to us as breeding parasites. They've been planning this for years. Hyun-woo raised his weathered hand for silence. At 55, he had dedicated his entire adult life to protecting humanity's interests in a galaxy that seemed determined to crush them. His face bore the scars of countless battles, and his gray hair showed the stress of commanding Earth's defenses against threats that could wipe out entire worlds. The hologram flickered and Ambassador Veldok's form began to fade, but not before. Delivering one final insult. Humanity has 30 cycles to prepare for judgment. Do not attempt to bring weapons to the sacred neutral zone. Your primitive technology would be amusing, but ultimately pointless. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in heavy silence. 47 alien species made up the Galactic Council, and each one considered humanity to be nothing more than upstart children playing with toys they didn't understand. For 50 years, humanity had enjoyed their mockery, their trade restrictions, their casual dismissal of human achievements. But Commander Park Hyun-woo smiled. It was a cold, calculating expression that made several junior officers step back. He walked to the massive viewing window that looked out over the construction bays where Earth's fleet was assembled. Hundreds of ships floated in the zero-gravity environment. From small patrol craft to the massive carriers that protected human space. But these weren't the ships that would change everything. Minho, he said quietly, still staring out at the fleet. Status report on Project Daybreak. Captain Lee's cybernetic arm word as he consulted his tablet. Final assembly protocols are complete. Sir, all components are in position. Dr. Park Sujin confirms that the quantum fold generators are operating at peak efficiency. We can begin deployment on your order. Lieutenant Kim looked confused, sir. What about the Council's restrictions on bringing weapons to the neutral zone? Hyan Wu's smile widened. Who said anything about weapons? Lieutenant, we're bringing a diplomatic vessel for ceremonial purposes only. He turned to face his staff, and they could see the fire burning in his eyes. Send a response to the Council. Tell them we accept their generous invitation and humbly request permission to bring one escort vessel to honor the solemnity of the occasion. The communications officer's fingers flew across her console, encoding the message in the formal diplomatic protocols the Council required within minutes. Her console chimed with an incoming response. Sir, they're responding already, Kim said, her voice filled with surprise. Permission granted. The message includes, they seem almost amused by our request. They're calling it touching that the primitives want to maintain their quaint ceremonies. A low growl of anger rippled through the assembled officers. These aliens had pushed humanity down for decades, treating them like insects to be tolerated or swatted away as convenient. But that was about to change. Hanwu turned to address the entire room, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had earned respect through blood and sacrifice. Gentlemen, ladies, prepare the harmony. Contact all department heads and tell them Phase 1 is now active. It's time the Council learned that humanity has been very busy these past years. As alarms began sounding throughout the facility and officers rushed to their stations, Hyan-Wu remained at the viewing window, somewhere in the construction bays. Hidden among the regular fleet vessels, the components of humanity's greatest achievement waited for assembly. The aliens thought they knew everything about human capabilities. They were about to discover just how wrong they could be. The Harmony glided through space like a silver needle threading through the darkness. Its hull, barely 300 meters long, caught the light from Kepler-42's twin suns as it approached the massive neutral station. The diplomatic vessel looked exactly like what the Galactic Council expected from humanity. Simple, functional, and completely unremarkable. Its engines hummed with the steady rhythm of conventional fusion drives, and its communication rays followed standard galactic protocols as it requested docking permission. Commander Park Hyan-Wu stood on the bridge, watching the station grow larger on the main screen. The neutral zone facility was a marvel of alien engineering, stretching over 50 kilometers in diameter. Its crystalline spires and organic curves reflected the architectural styles of dozens of different species. Massive docking bays could accommodate vessels from the tiniest scout ships to the colossal dreadnoughts of the major powers. Docking clearance granted, reported Lieutenant Nam Tai-Hyan from his position at the communications console. They're directing us to Bay 94, Section J. It's in the diplomatic quarter, far from the main military berths. Colonel Choi Ji-hai, Hyan-Wu's aide and the finest tactical mind in the Earth Defense Force, studied the station's layout on her tablet. At 32, she had risen through the ranks faster than any officer in human history, earning respect through brilliant strategic thinking and nerves of steel. Sir, they're treating us like a minor delegation. Bay 94 is where they dock waste processing ships and supply freighters. Hyan-Wu nodded calmly. Perfect. The less attention we attract, the better. He touched his earpiece, opening a secure channel to the engineering section. Dr. Kim Jin-soo, status report. The chief engineer's voice crackled through the comm. "All quantum-fold generators are stable, Commander. The dimensional anchor points are locked in position throughout the system. We're ready for a phase 2 on your signal." As the *Harmony* settled into its assigned docking bay, Hyenwu and Colonel Choi made their final preparations. Their dress uniforms were immaculate, bearing the insignia of Earth's diplomatic corps rather than military ranks, to any observer. They appeared to be exactly what the Council expected: humble representatives from a minor species, come to beg for mercy. The walk through the station's corridors was a journey through a living museum of galactic civilization. The walls pulsed with bioluminescent patterns from Nexari bioarchitecture, while Vorthan crystal matrices provided power conduits that sparkled like captured lightning overhead. Holographic displays showed news feeds from across the galaxy, in dozens of languages, most of which portrayed humanity in unflattering terms. They passed groups of alien beings in the corridors, tall, graceful Altarians with their forearms and pearl-white skin glided past without acknowledgement, a pack of Krathri warriors. Their insectoid bodies clicking and chittering, deliberately, blocked the human's path before moving aside with obvious disdain. Gas-based nebulans floated in their containment suits, their forms shifting like colorful clouds as they whispered among themselves in ultrasonic frequencies. "They're all here." Colonel Choi observed quietly as they walked. "Every major power, every minor alliance. This isn't just a trial. It's a show of force." The grand amphitheater was a breathtaking sight that never failed to impress visitors. Rising in perfect tiers round a central speaking platform, it could accommodate representatives from all 47 council species while maintaining the environmental requirements each needed to serve. The Vorthan section glittered like a field of diamonds, their crystalline bodies refracting light in impossible patterns. The Krathri delegation occupied a series of interconnected hives. Their warrior castes ranged by rank and clan markings. In the aquatic section, the massive Leviathan delegates floated in pressurized tanks, their tentacles writhing as they communicated through color changes across their skin. The energy-based spectral consortium flickered in and out of visibility, their forms barely contained by magnetic field generators. At the center of it all, Chancellor Vexmyron of the Altarian Confederation stood at the speaker's podium. The Chancellor was an impressive figure, even by Altarian standards, standing nearly 3 meters tall with forearms that moved in perfect coordination. His pearl-white skin bore the ritual scars of high office, and his large, dark eyes held the cold intelligence of someone who had ruled for over 2 centuries. "The Grand Assembly recognizes the arrival of the human delegation," Vexmyron announced, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. "Let it be recorded that they arrived in a single vessel of primitive design, confirming their status as a minor species." Laughter rippled through several sections of the amphitheater. The Krathri clicked their mandibles in amusement, while the gaseous nebulans pulsed with colors that their universal translators rendered as mockery. Commander Hyenwu and Colonel Choi descended the steps to the central platform with dignity intact, ignoring the whispers and jeers from the gallery. Hyenwu's weathered face showed no emotion as he took his position at the defendant's podium, a structure designed to make the speaker appear small and insignificant before the towering tiers of alien representatives. The human delegation will present their defense for the unauthorized colonization of protected systems, Chancellor Vexmyron declared, his forearms spreading wide in a gesture of false magnanimity. "Let them explain why their species should not face severe restrictions on further expansion." Hyenwu stepped forward, his voice clear and steady. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Council, humanity has acted in accordance with all treaties and agreements previously established. We followed the star charts provided to us by this very council 50 years ago. At no point during our expansion into the Kepler systems were we informed that these regions were protected or restricted. The response was immediate and devastating. Laughter erupted from dozens of species, echoing through the chamber like thunder. The sound was not just amusement. It was contempt, disdain, and the casual dismissal of a species they considered beneath notice. Councillor Ekron of the hegemony rose from his section, his reptilian form towering over his subordinates. The hegemony representative's scale shifted color as he spoke, displaying the anger patterns that served as emphasis in his species' communication. Primitive species are expected to possess the instinct to avoid sensitive regions. Your ignorance of galactic protocols is not an excuse for your transgression. Furthermore, added Ambassador Kelther from the consortium, her energy form flickering with irritation, lesser species must earn the right to expand through demonstration of wisdom and restraint. Humanity has shown neither. Colonel Choi's jaw tightened, and Hyan Wu could feel the tension radiating from his aide. Round them, the gallery erupted in approving sounds from dozens of different species. Clicking, hissing, harmonic resonances and color displays all combined to create a symphony of alien superiority. But Hyan Wu remained calm. He had expected this response. In fact, he had counted on it. In that case, he said, his voice cutting through the noise, I request a brief recess to consult with my advisors aboard our vessel. Chancellor Vex Myron Nesforans gestured dismissively. Granted, perhaps when you return, you will demonstrate a more appropriate attitude of submission to this council's authority. More laughter filled the chamber as the human delegation began their walk back to the docking bay. But as they left, Hyan Wu touched his earpiece once more. Dr. Kim, he said quietly, begin Phase 2. It's time to show them what humanity has really been doing for the past 50 years. Behind them, the aliens continued their celebration, completely unaware that everything was about to change. The modest little Harmony sitting in Docking Bay 94 was about to reveal humanity's greatest secret, and the balance of power in the galaxy was about to shift forever. The moment the heavy chamber doors sealed behind the human delegation, the grand amphitheater erupted into chaos. 47 different species began talking at once, their voices creating a cacophony of clicks, hisses, harmonic tones, and electromagnetic pulses that the universal translators struggled to process. Queen Veskvarov. The Krathri hives rose from her ornate throne, her massive insectoid form dominating a section of the gallery, standing nearly from meters tall. Her chitinous exoskeleton gleamed black and gold under the chamber's lights. Her compound eyes fixed on the other delegates as she clicked her approval in the rapid fire language of her warrior species, the mammals. Show their true nature, she declared, her mandibles clicking with satisfaction. Weak, emotional, and completely predictable, they will grovel before this council within the hour. The gaseous nebulons in their containment section pulsed with waves of brilliant color, their forms shifting like aurora as they communicated through chromatic displays. Ambassador Flexandra's voice emerged from her suit's speakers with barely contained amusement. Observe how they scurry back to their little ship, she said, her gas form swirling with patterns that indicated mockery. Like frightened children running to hide behind their parents' robes, Ambassador Kelther. Energy consortium flickered brighter, her form crackling with static discharge that served as laughter among her kind. Their surrender is inevitable. I have reviewed their fleet specifications personally. Their largest warships are barely the size of our patrol craft. Even their so-called battleships would struggle against a single council frigate. Chancellor Vex Myron raised his forearms for attention, his pearl-white skin reflecting the chamber's lights as he addressed the assembly. Fellow representatives, let us not waste time celebrating the obvious. The humans will return with their submission. We will impose the standard restrictions on primitive species expansion, and we can move on to more important matters." The reptilian hegemonies section hissed with approval. Councillor Thecron's scales shifted to display satisfaction patterns as he spoke. "Perhaps we should consider additional penalties. Their defiance, however brief, shows dangerous independence. Such attitudes must be discouraged among the lesser species in the aquatic section." The massive Leviathan delegates floated in there, pressurized tanks, their tentacles writhing as they communicated through rapid color changes across their skin. Elder Kethmoros, ancient even by Leviathan standards, pulsed with deep blue patterns that indicated agreement. "The sea minds concur," his translator announced. "Independence in primitive species leads to chaos. Better to establish firm boundaries now than deal with rebellion later." 25 minutes passed in similar discussion. The alien representatives shared stories of other primitive species they had corrected over the centuries. They debated the severity of restrictions to impose on humanity, with some suggesting complete prohibition of expansion beyond the Sol system. Then the chamber doors opened again. Chancellor Vexmyron Esphorums began trembling with rage as the full scope of humanity's deception became clear. His pearl-white skin flushed with angry patterns that served as profanity among his species. "This is treachery of the highest order," he roared, slamming his ceremonial staff so hard it cracked the podium. "Guards, activate the station's defense systems immediately." The chamber's massive tactical display flickered to life, showing the neutral station's impressive array of defensive weapons. Plasma cannons powerful enough to vaporize asteroids began rotating toward the human dreadnought. Shield generators sparked with energy that could deflect comet impacts. Missile batteries loaded with antimatter warheads prepared to fire. The assembled delegates watched with satisfaction as enough firepower to destroy a small fleet powered up around the station. The humans might have built one impressive ship, but they were still vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Then, one by one, each weapon system went dark. The plasma cannons stopped rotating and powered down. The shield generators flickered and died. The missile batteries retracted into their housings and sealed shut within 30 seconds. Every defensive system on the massive station had been disabled without a single shot being fired. The silence in the chamber was deafening. Suddenly, a new voice filled the amphitheater, artificial, precise, and speaking simultaneously in all 47 languages of the Council. The asterisk Prometheus Unbound's asterisk. "I had accessed the station's communication systems. Greetings, representatives of the Galactic Council." They I said with perfect pronunciation in each alien tongue. "This is the Artificial Intelligence Artemis Core system of the human vessel asterisk Prometheus Unbound asterisk. Your defensive grid has been disabled using your own security protocols, which humanity has studied extensively over the past 5 decades. Ambassador Kelthor's energy form flickered weakly with shock. "How did you access our systems? They're protected by quantum encryption." Quantum encryption developed by the Spectral Consortium in 2387. Artemis replied. "Matter-of-factly, the mathematical foundation was published in your own scientific journals, which humanity has been reading for decades. We improved upon your design and found 17 critical vulnerabilities." Captain Lee Minho's scarred face appeared on the chamber's main screen, transmitted directly from the Dreadnought's bridge. Behind him, dozens of human officers worked at stations that seamlessly blended technologies from across the galaxy. His cybernetic arm gleamed as he saluted his commander. "All systems operational, Commander," he reported. "The station is completely defenseless. We have also disabled their communication rays to prevent them from calling for reinforcements. Their own security systems are now under our control." Gasps and chittering filled the chamber as the full implications became clear. The humans hadn't just built a powerful warship. They had turned the Council's own technology against them. 50 years of condescending technology transfers had given humanity everything they needed to neutralize the galaxy's most advanced defensive systems. Elder Kethmoros of the Leviathans pulsed with deep purple patterns of fear as his massive tentacles pressed against his tank's walls. They have been planning this for decades, he said, his ancient voice trembling. While we debated their primitiveness, they were preparing to surpass us. Councillor Vecron's reptilian scales had turned pale grey, a sign of extreme stress. Among his species, our military advisors assured us that humans lacked the strategic thinking for long-term planning. How could we have been so wrong? Commander Hyanwu walked to the center of the chamber, his presence somehow more commanding now that his people's true capabilities were revealed. You were wrong because you never bothered to really study us. You saw a young species with simple technology and assumed we would always remain simple. You forgot that humans learn, adapt, and improve faster than any species you've ever encountered. Artemis's voice filled the chamber again, now with a hint of what almost sounded like pride. This vessel was not built for conquest, but as proof that underestimating human adaptability has consequences. Every system, every weapon, every defensive measure aboard this ship was developed using technologies freely provided by the species in this CH. Amber, the asterisk Prometheus, unbound asterisk, slowly rotated outside the viewing ports, displaying its massive bulk to the terrified delegates. Its hull was a masterwork of combined alien technologies, each section representing years of careful study and improvement. Vorthan crystal conduits pulsed with power that exceeded anything the crystalline beings had ever achieved. Altarian gravity manipulators bent space itself around the vessel's hull. Nebular energy cores burned with the fury of captive stars. You wanted to judge humanity today, Heinwu said, his voice carrying absolute authority. Instead, you have been judged by your own arrogance. The question now is simple. Will you continue to treat us as inferiors, or will you finally recognize that humanity has earned its place among the stars? The alien delegates stared at the massive dreadnought in stunned silence, finally understanding that everything had changed. The species they had dismissed as primitive children had grown up, and they were no longer the helpless victims the Council expected them to be. The grand amphitheater fell into a silence so complete and the only sounds were the gentle hum of life support systems and the distant vibration of the massive dreadnought's engines through the station's hull. 47 species that had ruled the galaxy for millennia sat frozen in their seats, staring at the human commander who had just turned their entire worldview upside down. Chancellor Vexmyron Esphorums hung limply at his sides, his pearl-white skin flickering with confused patterns of light. The Altarian leader had commanded respect across the galaxy for over 2 centuries, but now he looked like a child who had just realized the monsters under his bed were real. Queen Veskthar's massive chitinous form had gone completely still, her compound eyes reflecting the lights of the asterisk Prometheus, unbound asterisk, through the viewing ports. For a warrior species that prided itself on tactical superiority, the Krathri Queen was experiencing something she had never felt before: genuine fear of another species' military capabilities. The gaseous nebulans had stopped their constant color shifting entirely, their forms hanging motionless in their containment suits like frozen roarers. Even the ancient leviathans in their pressure tanks had ceased their eternal swimming, floating motionless as their massive brains processed the impossible reality before them. Commander Hyanwu stood at the center of the chamber, his weathered face calm, but his grey eyes burning with the intensity of someone who had just won the most important battle in human history. The silence stretched on, thick with tension and the weight of changing galactic politics. Finally, he spoke, his voice carrying clearly through the vast space. Honored representatives, we stand at a crossroads. What happens next will determine the future of human-council relations for generations to come. He gestured toward the viewing ports, where the asterisk Prometheus unbound asterisk dominated the view, its 15-kilometer hull bristling with weapons that could level continents. We offer you a choice. Continue to view humanity as a primitive nuisance too, be controlled and restricted, and you will face us as adversaries, or recognize us as equals and benefit from a unique approach to cooperation, innovation, and problem-solving. The implications hung in the air like a sword. Every delegate understood what humanity was really saying. The days of pushing humans round were over. The species that had been dismissed as upstart children now possessed the power to challenge the entire galactic order. Chancellor Vexman's voice, when it finally came, was barely a whisper. His forearms trembled as he spoke words that would echo through galactic history. The charges against humanity are dropped the moment those words left his lips. The chamber erupted into controlled chaos. Delegates began frantically consulting with their advisors, while others activated emergency communication channels to their homeworlds. The political landscape of the galaxy had just shifted, and everyone was scrambling to understand what it meant for their own species. Ambassador Veldok was the first to act. The Vorthan's crystalline form pulsed with rapid light patterns as he rose from his seat and approached the human delegation. His translator crackled with urgency as he spoke. Commander Hyanwu, the Crystalline Empire formally requests a private audience to discuss alliance terms. Our crystal Matrix is aboard your vessel. We would be honored to expand our technological cooperation. The floodgates opened. Within minutes, a line of alien representatives had formed, each seeking to be the first to establish favorable relations with humanity's new power. The spectral consortium's energy beings flickered with nervous patterns. As they waited their turn, the Aquatic Cetacean Alliance sent bubbling messages through their translators. Even some of the more aggressive species like the Draconian hegemony began reconsidering their positions. But not everyone was ready to accept the new reality. A group of hardline delegates from the supremacist faction huddled together. Their leader, a towering titanoid named Granite Crusher, speaking in harsh, grinding tones. This changes nothing, the rock-based being declared. One ship, however impressive, cannot stand against the combined fleets of the core worlds. We should destroy them now before they grow stronger. His words carried across the chamber, and Commander Hyanwu turned to face him directly. Counselor Granite Crusher, you assume the asterisk Prometheus unbound asterisk is alone. The human commander touched his communication device, Artemis. Display current human fleet positions. The chamber's main holographic display flickered to life, showing a three-dimensional map of the local star systems. Dozens of red dots appeared throughout human space, each one representing a major fleet concentration. But these weren't the small patrol groups the Council had been monitoring. These were massive formations that had somehow escaped detection until now. Stealth technology adapted from Nexari biocamouflage and Wraith phase-shifting. Colonel Choi explained calmly, our entire fleet has been upgraded over the past decade. What you see here represents only our defensive formations. Our rapid response forces remain classified. Granite Crusher's rocky form began to crack with stress fractures. Other hardline delegates backed away from their positions, suddenly understanding that humanity's revelation went far beyond the single impressive warship. Colonel Choi leaned close to Commander Hyanwu, her tablet displaying a constant stream of incoming messages. Sir, we're receiving formal communication requests from 17 different species. The Mercantile Guild is offering exclusive trade agreements. The scientific collective wants to establish joint research facilities. Even the neutral zones Authority is requesting diplomatic talks. The transformation was remarkable to watch. Species that had dismissed humanity as primitive were now competing for favorable positions in the new galactic horde. The Vorthan ambassador was already drafting technology-sharing agreements. The Nebula Confederacy was proposing joint exploration missions. The insectoid hives were offering military cooperation pacts, but Commander Hyanwu wasn't. Finished, he walked to the center of the chamber one last time, his presence commanding absolute attention from every delegate present. The Prometheus Unbound now patrols human space not as a weapon of aggression, but as a guardian of our sovereignty, he announced. We built this ship and developed these capabilities because 50 years of experience taught us that we couldn't trust this council to treat us fairly. You made it clear that respect had to be earned through strength. He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. But we're not interested in domination. Humanity thrives on diversity, cooperation, and mutual benefit. We're offering you the chance to be partners instead of rulers. The choice of what happens next is entirely yours. As the human delegation prepared to leave the chamber, the massive dreadnought outside slowly began to rotate, its hull gleaming with the combined technologies of dozens of species. But now those technologies served human purposes, guided by human ingenuity and protected by human determination. The viewing ports framed the Prometheus Unbound like a window into the future, a future where humanity was no longer the junior partner begging F or scraps, but an equal power that had earned its place through intelligence, adaptability, and the courage to stand up for its principles. Some delegates watched the departing humans with newfound respect. Others plotted furiously, already planning how to deal with this shift in galactic power. But all of them understood that something fundamental had changed in the universe. The age of humanity had begun, and the galaxy would never be the same, daughters. Commander Hyanwu and Colonel Cho walked through the station's corridors toward their shuttle. Emergency broadcasts were already spreading the news across the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, in a dozen different languages, the message was the same. Humanity was no longer the harmless primitive species that could be safely ignored. The Prometheus Unbound hung in space like a monument to human achievement. Its weapons powered down, but its message clear. Humanity had learned, adapted, and grown strong. They had turned the galaxy's own arrogance against it, and in doing so, had secured their place among the stars. The war for respect was over. Humanity. Add 1 dot asterisk 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 the end asterisk asterisk asterisk.